Hello and welcome to this little 40k show. So today we are going to be talking about the faction focus. So today's faction focus is Chaos Knights. So we're going to go through some Chaos Knights. I will just mention I ran a tournament yesterday. It was a little RTT at 40k Gaming in Colchester in England. And it went really well. So I had like 3 different types of terrain pack. And depending on what table you had, you went on to that terrain pack. And yeah, it went really well. And the winner, congratulations to Lee Hall, who actually took home the win in the end. So let's get started. Is there anyone watching? Is there anyone out there? Can you hear me? Can you see me? So look. Okay. So let's get down to business and look at the Chaos Knights faction focus. So we've obviously seen the Imperial Knights, and they looked like they had some hefty damage output in terms of like the harpoon. The other guy with the big glove who had, it was like damage 9, Canis Rex, that was it, damage 9, like looked like there was some hard heavy hitting stuff, which you expect from Knights. So let's get down into the faction rules. So the army rules: Harbingers of Dread. If your army faction is Chaos Knights, each model from your army with this ability gains a bonus depending on which dread abilities are active for your army. See below. Once a dread ability is active for your army, that ability applies until the end of the battle. Okay. So, from battle round 1, from the first battle round onwards, the Despair ability is active for your army. Despair is an aura. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, each time that enemy unit takes a battle shock or leadership test, subtract 1 from that test. Oof. Okay. It's battle shocks. It's going to be a lot of battle shock going on, I think, in this game. So, from battle round 3 onwards, from the third battle onwards, the Doom and Darkness ability is active for your army. Each time this model makes an attack, if the target is battle shocked, add 1 to the wound roll. Each time an attack targets this model, if the attacking model's unit is battle shocked, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Each time this model makes an attack, if the target is battle shocked, add 1 to the wound roll. Each time an attack targets this model, if the attacking... So basically, if you're battle shocked, you're either going to get wounded easier or you're going to find it harder to hit. That's really nice. They're really playing into that, like, you know, changing the leadership, a bit like demons, and then battle shock. Things happen when you're battle shocked. Much like I would expect something like Night Lords to have. I'm sure that they're going to go heavy in with the battle shock. So I'm interested to see their rules. Well, I say that when the codex comes probably out eventually, because I don't think they're going to have specific rules until the codexes are out, and even then we're not even sure how specific they're going to be. Okay. Forged in Terror detachment rule. So this is called Traitorous Lance. In the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit is below its starting strength and is within 12 inches of a Chaos Knight model from your army, the enemy unit must take a battle shock test. For the purposes of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, it is considered to be below its starting strength while it has 1 or more, while it has lost 1 or more wounds. So, on a turn that you lose models, do you have to take a battle shock test? And then you wouldn't have to if you hadn't lost models, but this is making you then, even if you're just under your starting strength. Or is it below half strength, you have to take a battle shock test. I forgot. I have to look it up. Or can someone tell me? Anyone know? Whether what triggers the battle shock test, is it being below half strength? I should imagine it is. I should imagine it is. Okay. Seething hatred. So Knight Despoiler. There's a lot of weapons on this bad boy. I'm sure they're not all on it. I'm sure it's choices you can make. Okay, so movement 10, toughness 12, 3 plus save, 22 wounds, leadership 6 plus, and OC 10. Demon Breath Melter Gun, which is just Melter 2, 12-inch range, 1 attack. It's like all the other melters we've seen. It's just got Demon Breath in front of the name. Thermal Cannon. So it's Blast Melter 6. Ooh. 24-inch range. 2d3 attacks. So on average 4. Ballistic skill 3 plus. This is Blast keyword as well. And it's strength 12 minus 4. And it will be d6 plus 6 in melter range. Oof. That is going to do some damage. That is going to mess you up in a big way. Whew. Despoiler Battle Cannon. So the Despoiler Battle Cannon is exactly the same as the Battle Cannon that we saw from the Imperial Knights. So as Blast, as Rapid Fire, D6 plus 3. So in half range, you'll be getting 2d6 plus 6, which will be very nice. Despoiler Gatling Cannon. So this is like the onslaught, the heavy Gatling cannon that's on the Paladin or whatever. Not Paladin. You know the one I mean. 36-inch range. 18 shots. 18 shots. A 3 plus ballistic skill, strength 6, minus 2 damage. Wow. That is a serious elite killer, that is. That is brutal. I like it. Got a couple of them kicking around in your army. The opposition's going to know about it. Okay, Havoc Missile Pod. This is Blast and it has indirect fire. So it's D6 plus 1. It's 3 ballistic skill, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. Nice, nice. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it might kill a few Griblies on an objective near the back. So this is called a heavy dark flamer, which I'm imagining is just a heavy flamer. Ignores cover and torrent. It's 12-inch range, D6 shots, and it's strength 5, minus 1 damage. And then the heavy stubber is rapid fire 3, so 6 in half range. And that will be strength 5, 0 P, 1 damage. And then the rocket pod, 48-inch range, and this is strength 8, minus 2 D6 damage, 3 shots. And then the Hellstorm autocannon, which is anti-fly. I didn't realise there was an anti-fly. So anti-fly 2 plus. So you'd be wounding on a 2 plus. It's twin linked, so you're re-rolling that if you're like it's twin linked, so you're re-rolling against everything to wound. But that'd be quite nice against the 2 plus if you're shooting at something that flies. Ballistic skill 3, strength 7, minus 1, 2 damage. Interesting, it's not anti-aircraft. It's actually anti-fly, so it'll be anything that flies. But that's nice. Okay, moving on to some melee weapons. Melee weapons. Reaper Chainsword. So the strike, 4 attacks. Weapon skill 3, strength 14, minus 4, damage 6. Nice. Reaper Chainsword sweep is 12 attacks. Strength 9, minus 3, 2 damage. Oof. These sweep attacks on these knights are really good. Titanic Feet is 4 attacks, strength 8, minus 1, 2 damage. Yeah, it's alright. It's probably what Titanic Feet should be when you're not taking a specific weapon. Warp Strike Claw. is 4 attacks, strength 20, -3, 8 damage. I imagine that's going to be more expensive than a Reaper Chainsword if this is the case. And then a Warp Strike Claw Sweep is 8 attacks at strength 10, -2, 3 damage. Wow. That is interesting. Very interesting. That is some brutal damage output. Damage 6, damage 8, damage 3 on the sweep, like damage 2 on the sweep for the Reaper Chainsaw, which is 12 attacks. That's still strength 9 -3. That's still really, really nice. So we got the Deadly Demise D6. Harbingers of Dread is the faction, and Super Heavy Walker. We don't know what the Super Heavy Walker keyword gives them at the moment. It is towering. It's a walker. It's abhorrent. It's chaos. Night Despoiler. So we have a Dread Dominion, which is an aura. While a friendly war dog is within 9 inches of this model, each time that war dog takes a battle shock test, add 1 to the test. Okay, so you're literally like you're adding sort of or taking away the leadership from your enemy, and you're giving it to your war dogs to make them better and more likely to pass these battle shock tests. Seething Hatred. Each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll 1 hit roll, and you can re-roll 1 wound roll when resolving these attacks. Wow, that is really nice. That is really nice. Imagine that on that thermal cannon. Rerolling a hit, rerolling a wound makes that all just way more reliable. I mean, I know the thermal cannon's only strength 12. Or say only strength 12. You're still wounding like Land Raiders on a 4. And other knights on a 4. But when you're rerolling the wound roll, you've got 1 wound roll to reroll, and you can reroll a hit. It makes that all a little bit more reliable. And when that damage does go through, if you're in melter range, it's just gonna be huge. So yeah, really like that. And then he does degrade at 1 to 7 wounds. He loses 5 from objective control and 1 from his hit roll. And he has a 5-up invulnerable. A 5-up invulnerable. Okay, what we got next? We have got the Knight Abominant. Perhaps the most terrifying of all knight suits, piloted by fallen nobles, is the Knight Abominant. A towering psychic monstrosity that projects a tempest of empiric terror. Its psychic vortex terrors can throw an enemy unit straight into battle shock at the start of the shooting phase, making them vulnerable to Harbingers of Dread, and tears its prey apart, both with psychic squalls and scorching Volkite energy, then follows up with a barrage of close combat attacks. Brutal. Okay. What are we thinking, guys, so far of these weapons? They're looking pretty good, and the abilities seem very useful, like rerolling 1 hit, rerolling 1 to wound. Let me know in the chat what you're thinking about it so far. Okay, Diabolus. Okay, so the Knight Abominant is exactly the same stat line as the Night Despoiler, but this has some psychic. Okay, so we have the Diabolus Heavy Stubber Rapid Fire 3, so it's just a heavy stubber. Volkite Combuster, which is devastating wounds. So on a 6, this will be straight mauls. 30-inch range, attacks 9. Ollie says they're really pushing Battle Shock. Yeah, like I didn't realise, or I didn't think that Chaos Knights would be pushing Battle Shock this hard. I thought they'd leave it to stuff like Night Lords, Demons. You know, I didn't think that. It seems like Battle Shock's going to be a really major part of the 10th edition. I mean, I know you can, because you can still fight, you can still do stuff with Battle Shock, so it's not quite the same as like morale, but obviously the objective control is the huge thing, losing that. but I do think that you know, now if you're battle shocked, you're getting -1 to hit if you're shooting a knight, or you're getting or the knight's getting +1 to wound against you. It's very tasty, and it makes you want to like pray that you've got some units that are immune to battle shock, which I don't think is going to happen in this edition. I'd be surprised if there's any units really that are immune to it. What do you think, Ollie? Do you think any units will be immune to it? Do you think they'll make Poxwalkers immune to battle shock? Okay, so the Volkite Combuster is 9 attacks, ballistic skill 3, strength 12, 0 AP, 3 damage, 0 AP. But it is mortals if you roll a 6, but it's nice if you re-roll to wound, I suppose. So then we have the Bale Mace. Ooh. Extra attacks. So this is just an extra weapon. Attacks 3, weapon skill 3, strength 8, -1, 2 damage. So it's alright. You're going to use that against sort of elites and troops, really. I can't see that being really that great against vehicles. Electro Scourge. Sustained hits 1. Attacks 9, 3 up weapon skill, strength 10, -2, 3 damage. Again, not amazing like anti-tank melee weapons there. Like when you look at it in comparison to the old Warp Strike Claw, it's not the one, is it? But let's have a look to see how good this psychic abilities are. Vortex Terrors, psychic. At the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches of this model. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. Okay. I mean, it's alright, but you got to be within 12 and starting a shooting phase, so it's probably not happening in turn 1. But yeah. It's a nice little psychic ability. And then Warp Storms. Psychic. At the end of your movement phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 9 inches of this model. On a 3+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. That's nice. It's a big base as well. So each enemy unit within 9 inches of this model on a 3+. That 3+ is really good as well. Suffers D3 mortal wounds. That is nice. That's like what's the Catan power? You know the one within 9 inches. They take mortals on. That used to be on a 4+ though. 3+ is really nice for that. 5 up invuln again. Obviously this guy's got the psychic keyword. I should imagine that's going to make a difference with other weapons hitting it and things like that. While this model has 1 to 7 wounds remaining, subtract 5, yeah, and then subtract 1 from the hit roll. So, interestingly, like I'm wondering how the Sisters of Silence are gonna interact with psychic now, because is it just going to be like, oh, they can't be affected by psychic and you can't shoot them with psychic weapons? Is that going to be their rule? Because if so, it makes them a bit like meh. Because before they were really useful to like shield the rest of your army from psychic. But now it's going to be like, oh yeah, I can't shoot them with my psychic weapons, so I'll shoot them with my normal weapons and I'll shoot them with my psychic weapons. It's just a bit crap, isn't it? But if anyone else thinks that there's going to be some cool, or can think of some cool way to have the Colexis Assassin and the Sisters of Silence interact with psychic, let me know. Yeah, but looks alright. I really like the Warp Storm's ability. Looks good. I mean, he needs something because his ranged weapons and his melee weapons aren't tickling my pickle. What do you think about these, Ollie? Do you think about these ranged weapons and these melee weapons? They're just not... feel like they're a bit meh. I mean, 9 attacks at damage 3, I suppose, is pretty good at strength 10 -2. Against, like, elites, I just don't think it's doing much to a tank. Okay, the Desecrator Laser Destructor. So it has no keyword, this weapon. So it's range 72 inches, attacks 3, ballistic skill 2 plus, strength 18, -4, d6 +3. That's nice. I mean, it's only got 3 attacks. But It's hitting on the 2+ though, so that is quite nice. Yeah, I like it. Strength 18, so you're pretty much wounding on... You're hitting on 2s. You're probably wounding on 2s or 3s. D6 plus 3. It's reliable damage. Yeah, it's good. 72-inch range. You're never going to be out of range. Yeah, I like it. Okay, the Warp Strike Claw. We've already seen the Warp Strike Claw. Here. Have they got that lack of weapons? Is that... They're like, these are the weapons. We've shown you all the weapons that we have. Sorry. Like, so we're just going to repeat one. Because it's cool and it's got high damage. So we're going to repeat this one and show you this one again. Because look, damage 8. Like, come on. Show us a different weapon. For God's sake. There must be a weapon that we haven't seen. Like, on one of the big knights or something. What are they called? The Chaos versions of the, like, Dominus Knights? Show us one of their weapons or something. Well, that's disappointing. Okay. Dreadhound Stratagem. When in the start of your shooting phase or fight phase, 2 or more War Dog units from your army. Target 2 or more War Dog units from your army and 1 enemy unit that is an eligible target for each of those selected War Dog units. Ollie says he's pretty boring, ain't he? The psychic just seems dull. Yeah. I'm just like... Like, it's nice in terms of... Like, that them mortal wounds coming off him, but... It just... I mean, I'm not looking at him thinking, oh yeah, he's like the other guy above looks way better. Which is a shame because, like, having a psychic knight, I think is a cool thing, but for chaos, but... Yeah. So, 1 enemy unit is an eligible target for each of the selected war dogs. Ollie says he'd rather have the Imperial feel no pain. Yeah, I bet you would. I would as well. Well, see, that could have been a thing. He could have had an aura of, like, psychic, I don't know, feel no pain or whatever, with his psychic power. Until the end of the phase, the selected war dog units can only target that enemy unit. But all weapons equipped by those War Dog models gain the Sustained Hits 1 ability. In addition, if that enemy unit is battle shocked, until the end of the phase, each time a selected War Dog model makes an attack against that enemy, 5 is a critical hit, so he'd get exploding 6s and 5s. Which is nice. I mean, basically... If there is a way to, other than that stratagem, to ignore being battle shocked, I think that Chaos Knights might be in a bit of trouble. If you come up against someone, I mean, I don't know if they're going to make Thousand Suns immune to battle shock, but he used to have a power to give him a 5-up feel no pain. Yeah, I'd prefer that. I'd prefer to, like, he gets a 5-up and feel no pain rather than some of the other things. I mean, everything rotates around battle shock in this army. It's like you can do some cool stuff, but only if your opponent's battle shocked. Or, you know, or if your opponent's battle shocked, he's going to be worse against you. If your opponent's battle shocked, you'll be better against him. But if he's not battle shocked, nah. None of your rules really matter if he's not battle shocked, so don't worry about it. So that's very interesting. Let's see what the word from the studio is. Chaos Knights are terrifying foes to face. Where they tread, fear and panic spread. And this is how we wanted them to play in the latest edition, explains Robin from Warhammer Design Studio. Their army rule and detachment ability work together to cause widespread panic in their foes, and many of their detachment stratagems either grant the Chaos Knights bonuses when attacking battle-shocked foes, or impose penalties on their foes when their nerve breaks. Ollie said, yeah, it's either going to be oppressive or useless. Yeah, I can see that happening, yeah. This is all before you consider the datasheets themselves, which, as you might expect, are all potently destructive, apart from that psychic one. The vision here was a master and their pack of savage hounds, in this case of despotic Titanic knights who led their war dogs to battle. I mean, I think I like... I like it. It's very chaos. It's fear. It's you know, big weapons and smashing up in melee. You know, there's some good some good ranged weapons there as well. You've got the seething hatred, so you're getting this internal buff. Like, I certainly don't think they look bad. I think they look good. It's just a lot of battle shock stuff, which is interesting. So it's really the whole theme of the army is around battle shock, which I didn't expect it to be, but you know, it could be good. And then tomorrow they're saying it's the Golden Boys, another one of my armies, Adeptus Custodes tomorrow. So we can see what they're like, see if they're all still damaged too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on your whole army trait being around battle shock. Your whole arm, you know, all of your abilities, sort of your stratagems, your army rule, your detachment rule, everything involves battle shock. I mean, this might also, like, you know, this is for the Traitorous Lance. Maybe if there's a different detachment, it might have a different rule that's nothing to do with battle shock. But they've obviously maybe showed this because they want to show that how you can lean into the battle shock, and maybe there's other stuff you can lean into. However, your actual army rule is still around battle shock. So, having said that, I don't know. Me and Ollie have actually been talking recently about the amount of lethal hits that seem to have been spread around, and I saw that Auspex Tactics did a video. I'm sure that if you're watching this, you'll know who Auspex Tactics is. Does great videos with great information. So if you don't know who he is, definitely go and check him out, because he puts out videos thick and fast, and yeah, they're always very informative, and he has great info. But he done a video like basically how pretty much every army has sort of quite a bit of access to lethal hits, and or if they don't, they usually have some sort of access to something else that's gonna, you know, be able to take down these monsters, which is obviously what you need. But it's like, we thought the idea of making this stuff very tough is so that you have to take anti-tank weapons, which, to be, you know, obviously in the Chaos Knights thing, they've got some great anti-tank, especially in these melee weapons, and also in the melter. And that melter, the thermal cannon, is strength 12, which is really nice. But it's like, these knights, are you just going to be able to rattle them down? Is it just going to be a case of you've got a load of cultists and they're all going to have sustained hits, not sustained hits, lethal hits, and you just stick a baton next to them, and then they're just like, this is just like, and the same with guardsmen, you know, the guardsmen just wait for because they get it on a 5+ if they don't move and have an order or something, and are you just going to get the gun down by las guns because you've got a free up save and it's just pure volume, you know? I'm not sure if that's what I really want to see. Because I was wondering, obviously there was the rule leaks, and I was wondering if lethal hits was just going to be like, but it wouldn't affect vehicles and monsters. You know, so you can still, unless it's like a very certain weapon, like Gauss, for instance, sort of is meant to affect vehicles, and, you know, fine if that's the way they want to play it. But just to give it to everything just seems a bit cheap and a bit, like, I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right somehow. What do you guys think? What do you think that the lethal hits is a bit too much? Because I feel like with the devastating wounds, yeah, you're going to get a few mortals and stuff through, but I think it might be a little bit less so. Although, mind you, having said that, there seems to be more ways to re-roll to wound in this edition than there does to get re-rolls to hit, which is interesting. I've seen a lot like twin linked is rerolls to wound, and then you can have like a twin linked and devastating wounds weapon. So you're doing devastating wounds on a 6, but you're twin linked, so you're re-rolling, which is a very savage combination. And then you can get like anti-vehicle 4+, and it's a devastating wounds gun. So you're doing mortal wounds on a 4+ to wound, which is really, really strong. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these combinations there are. How many combinations there are with the devastating wounds and the reroll wounds and the lethal hits and the and then increasing, because we've seen a lot where you can increase your critical wound roll. Haven't seen so much where you can increase your critical hit roll, because if you can crit hit on a 4+, then you can auto wound with lethal hits on a 4+. So it will be interesting to see if that is a thing in any of the armies, because I hope it's not. I really hope it's not, because I want to see people have to take anti-tank weapons to kill tanks and monsters. And I want to see people, unless it's like a really specific weapon, and I want to see people take anti-infantry weapons to kill infantry. It's just, you don't want to see everyone taking strength 6 to 8 weapons and they just kill everything. You know, that's not what we want to see. In my mind, anyway. You might think differently to me. But we're going to leave it as a short one today because we only had one faction to go through. I don't want to bore you too much with my worries and concerns of 10th edition. I think that I think there's a lot of stuff that looks great. I am pumped for 10th edition. There are some things that I am not so happy about, but I think you can't please everyone all the time. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are very pleased with things. I mean, for me, my biggest disappointment is Psychic, but so maybe in the comments or wherever, put what your thing, the change you most like, and then the change that you least like in 10th edition so far from what we've seen of the rules. Obviously, there's a lot more rules to come, so you know this is just us, you know, shooting the shit and discussing, because I don't know if you know, but I really like talking about Warhammer 40k, so I quite happy to sit there, talk about it, discuss, you know, and other people might give me a different point of view, and that's why it's always good, I think, to watch other videos, to talk to people, listen to people's point of views and see it from other ways, you know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the stream if you watched it live. If you didn't and you're watching this on YouTube as in a video, then I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm streaming every week, every Monday and Wednesday at 3 PM. And then I usually try and get another stream in at another time, either Friday or Saturday or over the weekend. So, yeah, I hope to catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.